Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking to independent country music artist Alexandra Kay. Let's go.
That's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
I do all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I always wonder, like, what are people actually seeing? What are they actually hearing? You know, like, what is someone's perception of you, like, in your real life every day? I don't know. It's weird, especially when you're in entertainment and people you become more of like a brand once as you build success. Mm-hmm. They see you as a brand.
I think that's why it's so important just to take control of your narrative while you can, though.
Yes.
You know?
Take control of your narrative.
I mean, people are going to write whatever they want to write and say whatever they want to say. But as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror, you know, the next day and feel good about who you are, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, it's like some honesty. It's always... It feels good.
Right.
What's your narrative? What's the top line?
Independence. It's kind of what's really become, I don't know, I guess the headline that I want everything to read when it comes to Alexandra Kay. Yeah. You know? I mean, I've been in this business now for, I've had 2 record deals.
Yeah.
And I'm independent. And it wasn't until this year that I started to really be comfortable and really proud of that. Over the last year.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird, though, that we start and all we want is a record deal?
Right.
I think most of us, because that's our representation of like a validation.
Right.
Like, now I'm serious. Now I'm real.
I mean, it's what we're told we're supposed to want, right?
Yeah, it's the model we've been given, right?
Exactly.
Like you get into music, you start loving music, you start looking at artists and you start shaping your idea of like what that means. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere in there, you give yourself permission to think you could do it.
Right.
Because like you really are, I always say this, like, who told you could do it in the first place?
Honestly?
Yeah.
Myself.
Right.
Like most people told me I couldn't. Right. Almost everybody.
Yeah. So when you start testing that idea, like, because okay, if we're talking about a company, right? We would test it. We test we do our research and development on things before we decide, okay, we've landed on this idea and we're going. So if we look at ourselves as like a company, it's like, I'm going to start this company. Mm-hmm. I start testing in the market with the people around, the audience. Yeah. The name, the idea, the concept. So when we're starting our careers as artists, we're not looking at it that way. We just go, I think I could do that. I feel something that compels me to like think I could maybe write a song, or maybe I'm starting to play around with it. And then we start talking about it. Mm-hmm. That's the research part. And we start telling people, most people are like, oh, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, kid.
Or they're like, my mom's like, no, you're going to college.
Yeah.
You're not. You have to go to college. Also, you're supposed to play softball. Like that's what we paid all of this money for your entire life, is to make you the best softball player and make sure that every college scout had their eyes on you. And now you're just like, I'm gonna do music.
Yeah, but what if all that money was spent for you to learn the process of mastering something? You know? Right. And so it wasn't a waste.
Well, nothing's ever a waste.
Right.
And honestly, I think that my plan was already, my story was already written before I was even here. And so I think I'm just like really living it out right now. And I feel like I'm really in my purpose, living in my purpose more now than ever, which is really crazy because I had probably the worst year of my life.
Last year? Mm-hmm. Why?
I went through a divorce.
Oh, you did? You don't look old enough to be.
I did. We ain't got to talk about age.
Yeah.
I went through a divorce. I was with my ex for 11 years.
Wow.
And I ended up writing through it, and I put a record out this year called All I've Ever Known. And it really was about the only life I had known up until this point. Mm. And me really falling into being a housewife and being so domesticated. And I loved that. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I loved that. I mean, I thrived there. I really do. I love my slow Sundays where I just get to cook and bake and clean my house and just be slow and present, nice. You know? And out of nowhere, my life just changed, mostly because of the internet, which kind of I wanted to touch on when we were talking about earlier how in the start of a business, right? We're talking about how in the inception of it all, we get to test things out.
We test things.
Isn't it insane that some people just don't get to test things out anymore?
No, you don't. And now, now on the internet, a test becomes a headline, becomes a talking point in what was just a thought or a moment or a mistake or whatever. There's no testing.
No.
Everything's permanent. If people run away with it and start making it the thing, you can't control it.
Artists are sitting in their bedroom playing possibly the first song they've ever written in their life, and it becomes their biggest hit, and they have millions of followers, and they have millions upon millions of streams and record labels all in their face, and they've never even gotten to figure out what they actually want or who they actually want to be.
Yeah.
They're forced into it, and they're saying, well, this is what everyone likes, so I guess I'll recreate this song over and over
and I won't grow.
And this is who I am now.
Like
and they never even had a choice.
How often do you see something like that coming from your experience now and go, ooh, like everyone else is going, wow. They have they released that bedroom song. We see it sometimes, right? This new artist, they have this little thing they did, and then it blows up, and everyone's like, wow, great. Yeah, that's so on fire. I tend to go, ooh, that's either going to be the beginning of a really long, great career with someone who's really talented who can navigate how to be an artist,
right?
Or it's going to be over. And when you see the artist almost like buying in, like they think it's permanent, and you're like, just take it slow, keep writing. Don't buy all the way into the success. Like, let it be, celebrate it, but like keep going. Because most people are gone. We could probably bring up 50 names in the last 2 years of people that had a moment where we don't even remember. We'd have to stop and go online and find these people. And it's scary when you think about like how short a career can be now too.
I remember specifically a couple of times just kind of like pacing around in my backyard when I saw somebody have this really big viral song. And I mean, at this point, I love analytics. I love data.
Great.
I love social media. I do. And I know a lot of artists don't. It's kind of like pulling teeth to get them to do it, but I'm all in. Like, I love it. You know, I love to be able to feel as in control of my career and of my destiny and of my audience and how I want to be perceived and as possible. I don't know why. It's just, I just love it just as much as I love writing the songs, recording the songs. And so I pay a lot of attention on what's working, especially on social media. And so I'll see, oh man, this one video's got like 50 million views on it, and all the comments are this or that. And all of a sudden, all their masters come down, everything's re-recorded. It's like, then it comes out, posted, they're signed. And I was like, man, you just sold every bit of your music for this record deal. You just handed it all over.
Yeah.
And what if it doesn't work out? But that's never even at the forefront of our minds.
Record deals can be really good and they can be really bad.
Right.
That's the two sides of the coin you have to look at and know going into it. Like, this could be really good, but I need to design what I think really good means.
Sure.
And then this could be really bad if I don't think about it at all and I just sign whatever because I'm just excited and I just need this validation and I need this look, you have all these experienced people, and for all you know, you walk in the guy's office and he's got all these plaques and you believe it.
Right.
They're on the wall.
For sure.
So for sure he was the guy. It's working. Not to say he wasn't the guy. I don't know. It's individuals, right? So there's room for everyone. Like with social media, I don't love or hate it. I respect it.
Yeah.
And I try to participate where I feel I can.
Sure.
And then most of the time I find myself in doubt or in question of something. Then my rule is I don't post now at my age. I'm like, I don't post unless I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And why I want to do it.
Right.
So I'm generally promoting things or big upping people that I like or whatever. But when I hear you talk about your perspective of it, it just sounds to me like self-respect. Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because we should be in control of the message people are getting from us.
Sure.
But when an artist goes into a record deal, which it sounds like your experience of record deals led you to this place where you're independent, which I prefer independence as well. I'm independent. I don't know that I'll ever be in a position where anyone ever owns my art.
Sure.
Again, certainly when I was young, they do. That no one told me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I could do a license deal, could get my master's back after a time. No one talks about that.
No.
And, and I have a management company, so I talk it through with artists. They can make, at the end of the day, it's your decision to make the deal that you feel you want to make. My job is to give you the information that I have. And I'm not a manager, but I work in a company of managers, and we all share the same values and perspectives of we should be giving the artists all the information, and we should be encouraging them to think long-term if they really are choosing this as a life.
Right.
So a long-term deal is, I think, more designed like that. Like, let's share the success together. License deal's great.
Sure.
But when I'm my age, when I'm 45, I can hold the things that I created and go, I own this.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Right.
So I'll regret that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I can't change it.
Sure.
The richness of that experience is why I can sit with someone else and go, hey, so this is what I think. I wish someone would have told me this when I was 18.
Yeah.
Like, I think you should think that way.
I think that right now, and having been through my past experiences, and I'm just like so excited to be able to share where I'm at now with people and to let younger artists know that there is another way of doing it. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you have all of this time to be sitting on your phone, scrolling through TikTok or out drinking with your friends or out, partying, whatever, playing video games, whatever. It's like you're sitting around being like, how am I going to find a manager?
Yeah.
You don't need a manager. There are so many things you can do by yourself. You have all this time, And so I think that, and that's how I look at social media, right? I'm like, why would it? And I know that some artists, it's like a very touchy topic right now, especially like artists post about it and they're like, I hate that I have to do this and I just want to create my art and I shouldn't have to promote it myself, right? And I'm like, I cannot imagine, and this is just me, I cannot imagine like creating something I'm so proud of and not wanting to get it out there. I
agree. I think if you don't tell your story, someone else is going to tell your story for you, and it's going to be their version of it. So you have to, or you don't have to.
Right.
And there's the rare cases of artists who don't participate, and it works for that brand of art or their style or whatever. But you're always your manager.
Right.
I say that to artists. Like, what I wanted to absolve myself of was the responsibility of the decision making, so that I didn't have to deal with failure like it was my decision. I wanted to put it on someone else so that if it failed, I could say it was their fault or their fault, because I was so terrified of failure.
Sure.
When I came to terms with that and I realized, like, no, the best managers are partners, I think. They're working in partnership with you in collaboration, but you are the manager. Now, you can't walk into a room on your own behalf most of the time and make a deal, because there's something about the nature of these relationships that there's something, I want to use the right words because it sounds like I'm criticizing the music business. I'm not. I'm in the music business. I fucking love it.
Right.
It's my life.
Yeah.
There's a dishonesty, though, in deal making sometimes that I think people are afraid to disappoint artists, because artists are so charismatic.
But disappointment's part of all of this.
100% disappointment is a part of trying anything.
I mean, the amount of times I can count that I've been disappointed, and then I look back now and I'm like, thank goodness.
Thank God that happened, right?
I'm just, yeah.
In the moment, the result we think we want is what we want. And artists, when we tend to be these like highly focused on the things we care about.
Sure.
And when we're not focused on something we care about, we're ADD, right? So I always say, like, ADHD, ADD is such a strength when you know what you want to do. When it's at all the right things, you can do an album and the cover and write a song and listen to the mix and think about the merch and think about the tour. And you can do 50 things at once when you have a reason. But when you don't have something to focus on, you're just ADD and you're going nuts. So, but a good manager, a good partner can represent you the way you want to be represented. when you can't necessarily go in and represent yourself, but you should be able to if you need to. And that's what I think. I always tell artists, you are your best manager until you can't be, because you're overwhelmed with the size of the thing that you're building. Then you bring in a good manager and you work together.